Is it okay to question God? Part 2. Hello everybody, hope you guys have been keeping wonderful and hope you guys have been keeping amazing. So the last video we did, we asked the question, is it okay to question God? And we said that we'd get knee deep into it the next video. Well, we're finally here. And today we're finally going to answer the question, is it okay to question God? The answer, at least from my perspective, is not a definite answer. From my perspective, yes. I believe it's okay to sit back and ask the question, to ask and think, God, A, B, C, D, why did this have to happen? Why is this happening? Don't badger me yet. I know some immediate responses would be, how dare you? How dare you seem to know everything? How dare you seem to question the one who is the creator of heaven and earth, the God you worship? Hear me out a little bit. God is this wonderful, infinite, magnificent, majestic, awesome, all-knowing, all-powerful, all-wondering being. God is not human. Let's not get that straight. Let's understand that fact. God is not like us. We are creations. He is the creator. He made us in His image. But He doesn't think like we do. We will never be able to understand how God operates in some things. We will never be able to understand how God does certain things. We may never be able to understand, and we never will understand. Maybe, God willing, one day when we're in glory with Him. I mentioned in the last video, there's wars, there's pandemics that happen, there's personal, professional hardship, slavery, toil in this world. The sin in this world keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. Have you ever really sat and thought, but Lord, why is this happening? Sometimes we're too scared to do it because we're like, no, we're just merely creations. But the fact that we are humans, we are not meant to understand how God works, but we're just meant to trust in how He works. Trust that in whatever He's doing, it is to fulfill His glory. Let's look at some biblical examples. Let's look at Job. Look how Job loved the Lord, worshipped God, did every single thing in accordance to God. But in a matter of a day, if you read the book of Job, I think it's Job chapter 2, 3, somewhere there, where Job lost everything. Different servants, if I remember, about 4 to 5, were coming and telling him his cattle had died. Everything he had owned was taken away. All his children, he had 10 children, all his children were killed. Every bit he lost. In a day, we assume, because it kept saying, as the servant was talking, one came. As the last servant was talking, one came. And you'd wonder, but Lord, why would you punish somebody who loves you? Job worshipped you, God. Job loved you. He did everything in accordance to what you did. Why would you take things away from him? Why would you let him go through that suffering and that pain? Let's look at Jonah. Jonah was told to go to Nineveh. And sometimes before I read the story of Jonah, I actually did judge and say that, you know what, Jonah just didn't listen. But then through church and through personal research, I learned that Nineveh was a horrible place. A place where they skinned people alive. A place where they skinned people alive, literally used the skulls of human heads that were dead as lights. Do research on Nineveh, I'm not making this up. And Jonah, being scared, said that, Lord, I cannot go to Nineveh, they'll kill me. He tried to run away, but he spent 3 days inside the belly of a whale. But God, why? Let's look at Joseph. Joseph, son of Jacob, to be exact. Joseph was Jacob's favorite son. He didn't particularly do anything wrong to his brothers. If we do a bit more research on that, it's debatable, but we won't get into that now. His brothers threw him in the pit. They sold him to Ishmaelites. He was sold to Ishmaelites. They sold him to Egyptians. He went into Potiphar's house. He was accused of rape. He went to jail. He went through hardship after hardship after hardship after hardship after hardship. Don't you then get the question? Why, God? Right? Jesus himself. Jesus, with all the agony he went through in the night before he was crucified, while he was being crucified. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why does it seem like for every good there has to be pain that happens? I asked that question myself. I've asked God that question multiple times, and just like maybe some people who are watching, there was a sense of fear in me to be like, can I question him? Can I really question God? Am I allowed to question God? Because we're human beings, we will never understand how God works. We will never understand why we have to go through certain tough situations, why we have to go through pandemics, why we have to lose relatives, why we have to go through hardship at work, why we have to go through family turmoil, why we have to go through troublesome marriages, why we have to lose every bit here and there, left, right, center. It seems like we're losing. Because we will never understand how God works, because God is infinite. He's beyond humanity. He's bigger than humanity. He's bigger than all creation. If everything that we see and study in science, all the planets, whatever, the universe, the galaxies, all belong to God, we're still discovering things about ourselves. Let alone how can we know more about a God who created all these magnificent things and a God who does all these wonderful things but yet lets the horrible things happen. We are never going to understand. But one thing that we can do, openly be honest in having a relationship with Him. When life gets too tough, just question and say, Lord, I don't understand why this is happening. Why it's happening, I don't understand why, but I will lean on you and I will trust in you. Because God knows what is best for us before even we do. Let's go back to our biblical examples. We looked at Job. But yet with all these hardships, Job didn't waver away from God. His own wife said, curse God and die, but he said to his wife, can we only accept good from God and not accept bad? Job was acknowledging the fact that, look, we're human beings, we are sinners. So God has a right to take away anything that He's given. Because He is God, He has the right. Powerful, right? That was Job. We look at Jonah. Jonah then went to Nineveh. But because he then went with God, realizing that, you know what, Lord, I cannot run away from you because this world is yours and I trust that you will protect me. He went to Nineveh. And guess what? He survived. He left. Joseph, throughout all his hardship, was all God being with him so that he can later rescue his family, who were the 12 tribes of Israel, who were going to later multiply in the land of Egypt and grow in numbers. Joseph had to go through the tough situations that he had to go through so that he can save the multiple generations of Israelites that were going to follow. Jesus knew what his mission was. He knew he had to go through that suffering. But still he relied on God the Father. Because he had a greater mission to save the lost souls, to save those to come to God, to save his children so that they can come to God. Every single one of these examples were people who stood. Yes, they might have asked, my God, why have you forsaken me? Some. We don't know 100% for each and every one of them. But they relied on him despite questioning him, saying, yes, Lord. Why, Lord, why? But they relied on him, and we know how each and every one of their stories end. They end in a good and amazing way. My challenge to us today, even though we can question God, there are times where we can sit back and be like, God, I don't understand why. Why? But don't let that sentence end on God, why? Let that sentence end on, but I trust you, Lord. I will walk with you, Lord. I will rely and stay true to you, Lord. My hardship, my situation, the hardship and situation I'm praying for, the hardship and situation I'm going through, someone else is going through, I will trust in you, God. Let's learn to stay wholeheartedly planted in Him. Let's wholeheartedly stay focused on Him. Let's wholeheartedly be firm and strong in the Lord who created heaven and earth. Because He knows our stories from start to finish. If you're alive like me today, our story is not over. But let's stay and stand firm and stand in the truth that our story has a happy ending. Because God is the author of our stories. Yes, we may get confused, we may get puzzled, but God has an amazing story for you and for me, if we trust in Him. Wholeheartedly open up yourself and question, yeah, but remember, let that story end with, but God, I will trust in you. But God, I will walk with you. But God, I will rely on you all the days of my life. Trust in the Lord.